Good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I am grateful to all of you who've taken out the time to be here. And today we are here to celebrate the launch of a new book, a book on my mother. We've received wonderful messages from Mrs. Gursharan Kaur and the Chief Minister, Captain Amarinder Singh. I'd like to thank them. I'm intensely grateful to both of them for the messages they have sent us. Now, before we go further, let me talk about the book and tell you what the book is all about. Well, it's been an incredible journey. The question that arose in our mind when we were thinking about the book was, how do you encapsulate the life of someone who's so multidimensional? And the answer to that came to seek out people and seek out their perspectives and build up the various dimensions of the person we call Mama, and most of the others we know call Ma'am. Therefore, we have Professor Harjit Singh Gill talking about how she's an icon of Punjabi culture and how she wrote about Fulkari, and the discussion that arose around that, which ultimately culminated in his book on Fulkari, called Fulkari from Bathinda. We have Neelam Singh Chaudhary writing about her Auntie Ji and how she matters a lot to her. In my own article, I write about my mother in fair amount of detail because I wanted to bring in so much, and yet so much got left out. But that's her. We have Ashok Chopra writing about her in an old article from Eve's Weekly and celebrating the fact that she was the only woman Vice-Chancellor in the country at that time. Subha Singh, an old family friend, as well as a journalist and a humorist, based his interview on her in the Advance magazine, which was also published around that time. We have Aradhika talking about a portrait of a lady. We have the children, Ravneet and Jansher, talking about their Amiji. Ranjit Pawar talks about her poise and her calmness. Nitya Ramakrishnan recounts of how much my mama meant to me. Radha Pratap Singh is an administrator and he looks at some of the tips he picked up from my mother, which he used later in his life. Madhusudan remembers the lovely ride he had on our Fiat and the gentle way in which my mother would handle various things. We have Dalip Singh talking about how she broke the glass ceilings, and Roma talking about her being a core. She takes that aspect of my mother's life. Of course, we have Asha Sood, who writes about a great teacher, which is Inderjit Kaur Sandhu, and Asha Sood was a person who taught at DPS for a long, long time. Through all these things, you get a feel of what my mother is all about. It was not very difficult to find material about her because she is meticulous in her documentation, and that really helped. Quite different from the time when I had to do a book on my father, Gyani Good Singh. On the other hand, this was a totally different challenge, looking through all the material, finding the right pictures for it. We did deliberately add a pictorial element in a major way because that adds so much of color and brings the whole journey across in a real way. Now let's talk about the Punjabi section. ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਭਾਗ ਵੱਲ ਸੋਚੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਭਿਨੰਦਨ ਰਚਨਾਵਲੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਈ ਮੋਤੀ ਪਰੋਏ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਦਲੀਪ ਕੌਰ ਟਿਵਾਣਾ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਆਪ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੇ ਉੱਘੇ ਲਿਖਾਰੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਸਰਦਾਰਨੀ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਵੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਸ਼ੇਸ਼ ਔਰਤ ਲੇਖ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਇੱਥੇ। हरचरण कौर एक होर उगे स्टूडेंट ने मेरे गुरदेव लेख के विच बड़े प्यार नाल अपने गुरदेव बारे गल्लां कीतियां ने। सरदार तरलोचन सिंह जी पहली स्त्री वाइस चांसलर बारे लिखते हैं और उन्होंने जिंदगी के कई पक्षों के उत्ते रोशनी पाते हैं। निरंजन सिंह साथी उगे पत्रकार सी जो हुण नहीं रहे। उन्होंने करीर के फुल के लेख के विच बड़े ही सुचजे तरीके नाल इंदरजीत कौर जी बारे सानू दस्सिया हैगा। दलीप सिंह उप्पल होरां दा प्यार भरिया लेख संधू मैडम बारे काफ़ी चानना पाता है, खास तौर पर उन्होंने उस समय बारे जदों वो पंजाबी यूनिवर्सिटी पटियाला के वाइस चांसलर सन। उवें ही सरदार तीरथ सिंह जी जो उस समय सैकटरी टू वाइस चांसलर सी, पिछों रजिस्ट्रार बने, उन्हों का लेख भी इंदरजीत कौर जी बारे नवीं गल्लां दसदा है ते दसदा है कि किवें वो इन्ने कामयाब वाइस चांसलर रहे। डॉक्टर कुलदीप सिंह धीर अपने लेख विच एक साहित्यक पक्ष पेश करते हैं और डॉक्टर किरपाल सिंह जी हिस्टोरीयन एक हिस्टोरीयन के नाते कुछ ऐसे चीज़ां सामने लियाते हैं जिहड़ियां हाले तक असीं नहीं जानते सी। भुपिंदर सिंह खैरा अपने लेख नूं खूबसूरती नाल निभाते हैं ते गुरमुख सिंह जी अपने पुराने वाइस चांसलर बारे बड़े ही प्यार नाल दसते हैं। साडे कोल ਉਹ लेख भी हैं ਜਿਹੜੇ अखबारां ते रसालियां दे विच छपे पंजाबी हिस्से का भाग हैं। पंजाबी बोली दे लई सरदारनी इंदरजीत कौर ने शुरू तो बहुत ही घालना की। वो पंजाबी दे पहले MA स्टूडेंट्स दे विचों सन। पंजाबी यूनिवर्सिटी दे विच उन्होंने पंजाबी दे लई जो किया वो सारे नूं पता ही है और साडे लिए बड़े फख्र की गल है कि इस किताब का पंजाबी हिस्सा भी बड़े ही वधिया लेखां नाल परोया गया है। आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल टू द contributors who wrote the articles and stood by me. I am thankful to the graphics people and others who helped me make the book. I am grateful to people who have come together today to celebrate the life of Mr. Inderjit Kaur, and I am sure that we are all looking forward to how various people who joined us on Zoom will talk about her and tell us more and help us celebrate the incredible life of my mother. I'll now request Sardar Talochan Singh to talk about Mr. Inderjit Kaur. पंजाबी दे विच बोलना चाहोगे? हाँ जी प्लीज़ पंजाबी।
मैनू बड़ी इस गल की खुशी है कि अज मैनू मौका मिल रहा है तुहाडे सारिਆਂ नाल कई गल्लां ऐसियां सांझियां करन लई कि सरदारनी इंदरजीत कौर दा की कैरियर है। अज सारा हिंदुस्तान कोविड की बीमारी कोविड वारियर लभ लभ के सन्मान कर रहे हैं। उस तो एक साल पहला लखां या करोड़ों लोग जदों माइग्रेट करके बड़े बड़े शहरों च पिंडां च गए, सारी भारत सरकार सारियां सरकारां लगियां उन्होंने केस सेवा की जाए। मैं उदों एक गल कही सी, अज मैं यही दोहरान लगा। लोग भुल गए कि 1947 में किवें पश्चिमी पंजाब तो नवें बने पाकिस्तान तो किवें लखां लोग बेघर हो के इस पंजाब आए। मैं उन्होंने चो एक हाँ, इस करके मैनू इस गल का एक्सपीरियंस है। जिहड़ी गल मैं अज कहनी चाहुंदा कि जदों पटियाला महाराजा पटियाला की रिक्वेस्ट है सारे पाकिस्तान रावलपिंडी डिवीजन के लोग पटियाले पुजे, उस वक्त पटियाला स्टेट सी और पटियाला स्टेट में जो असी देखा कि लेडीज़ से जिमें मुसलमान बुरखा कर दियाँ इदा लेडीज़ छुप के बैठदियाँ सन, टांगिया च भी जाना तो अगे पर्दा लगा के। उस वक्त पटियाले में एक संस्था बनी माता साहब कौर दल, मैनू चंगी तरह याद है। उस संस्था की प्रधान उस वक्त के मुख्यमंत्री राड़ेवाल साहब की वाइफ सरदारनी मनमोहन कौर, तो उसकी सैकटरी कौन, एक यंग लड़की 20-22 साल की उम्र होनी इन्होंने शायद, ਇਹ ਉਸ ਵਕਤ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਬੀਬੀ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਂ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ੰਸਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ 1947 ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਚੋਂ ਖਾਕਸ਼ਾਹ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਬਾਦਸ਼ਾਹ ਖਾਕਸ਼ਾਹ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਸੇਵਾ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਹੋਈ, ਔਰ ਜੋ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਦਲ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਕੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨ, ਉਹਦਾ ਸਿਹਰਾ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੈਰੀਅਰ 'ਚ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਕਰਦਾ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਐਜ਼ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਕਾਲਜਾਂ 'ਚ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਰਹੇ, ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਕਾਲਜ ਰਹੇ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਬਣੇ ਨੂੰ, ਇਸ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ 70 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਆਂ, ਪਹਿਲੀ ਔਰਤ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਫਸਟ ਲੇਡੀ ਐਵਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਾਈਸ ਚਾਂਸਲਰ ਬਣੀ ਹੈ, ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣੀ, ਉਹ ਸਰਦਾਰਨੀ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਹੈ। ਕਿਤਨੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਫਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਐਵਰ ਇੱਕ ਲੇਡੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ, ਇੱਕ ਲੇਡੀ ਆਫ ਏ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਵਾਈਸ ਚਾਂਸਲਰ ਬਣੀ, ਔਰ ਉਹ ਜੋ ਉਸ ਵਕਤ ਪਟਿਆਲੇ ਬਣ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਪਟਿਆਲਾ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹਨ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭਾਰਤ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ 1980 ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਬਾਰਡੀਨੇਟ ਸਿਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ, ਇੱਕ ਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਪਰਸਨਸ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਸੁਬਾਰਡੀਨੇਟ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈੱਡ ਬਣੀ। ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ, ਅੱਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਲੇਡੀ ਐਮਪਾਵਰਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਲੇਡੀ ਐਮਪਾਵਰਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਜਿੰਦੀ ਮਿਸਾਲ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਬੀਬੀ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਹੈ, ਐਜ਼ ਵਾਈਸ ਚਾਂਸਲਰ, ਐਜ਼ ਚੇਅਰਮੈਨ ਆਫ ਦੈਟ ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨ। ਲੇਕਿਨ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਮਾਣ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਗੁਰਦਿੱਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਨਾ ਸੰਬੰਧ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਸ ਜੋੜੀ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਗੁਰਦਿੱਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਾਹਿਤ ਜਿਉਂਦਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਪਿੰਡ ਦੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਜੋ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਜੀ ਲਿਖ ਗਏ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਅਮਰ ਬਣ ਗਈ ਔਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਾਹਿਤ ਦਾ ਅਨਮੋਲ ਖਜ਼ਾਨਾ ਬਣ ਗਈ। ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਜੋ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਗੁਰਦਿੱਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਰਾਈਟਰ, ਨਾਟ ਓਨਲੀ ਫਾਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਾਹਿਤ, ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਗੁਰਮੁਖੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਬਾਰੇ ਖੋਜ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਲਿਖ ਗਏ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੀਬੀ ਇੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੜਕੇ ਰੂਪਿੰਦਰ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਦਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਲਿਖਿਆ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਬੈਨੀਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਹੈ। ਐਵਰੀਬਾਡੀ ਸ਼ੁੱਡ ਲਰਨ ਕਿ ਹਾਊ from that time she has done so big work, so good work, ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ੰਸਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਗਤ ਨਹੀਂ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਜਗਤ ਐਂਡ ਆਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਦਿਨ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਹੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਗੁਰੂ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਉਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਕਦਰ ਪਾਈ ਹੈ, ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ੰਸਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹਰ ਪਾਸੇ ਹੈ, ਔਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਕਰੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਹੋਰ ਚੰਗੀ ਰਹੇ, ਔਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਛਤਰ ਛਾਇਆ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਏ, ਇਵੇਂ ਹੋਰ ਉਹ ਲੋਕ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਆਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਵੀ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਾਤੀ ਜੋ ਦੋਸਤੀ ਦਾ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਸੀ, ਉਹਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਸ਼ਰੀ ਹਾਂ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਰੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਚੰਗੀ ਹੋਵੇ। ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਹੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਦਾ।
I'll now request Dr. Arvind to say a few words.
Happy to be associated with today's program because I have the unique opportunity of heading a university in Northern India, which was earlier headed by a woman vice chancellor. I'm told that she was one of the few women vice chancellors when she was appointed in 1975, and she led this university. University was only 14 years old, and it was headed by Narang and Professor Jyot Singh before her, and she took it to new heights and brought the university up. On a personal note, I would say that before being here, she was in Amritsar, and my older sister was to be admitted in the GCW Amritsar, and my father took my sister for admission, and as a small kid, I also went along. And since he knew Madam, so we all went to her office. So I think I was a very small boy at that time, in maybe class 4th or 5th or whatever. And that was the first time I saw her, and maybe the only time I saw her in Amritsar. At the age of 98, she is fine and is able to, I hope, listen to all of us. And I wish many more years where she remains active and remains associated with us. And I hope that 2 years later, if all goes well, still we'll be in office, and we will celebrate her 100th birthday. And I wish her very well and congratulate her on her achievements and achieving the age of 98, and I look forward to her centenary and the 100th birthday 2 years from today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Grateful that you could join us. We'll now take a switch back and go to Mr. S.S. Boparai, a former Vice Chancellor. He recorded this message yesterday.
I got to know Mrs. Inderjit Kaur when she was in the prominent and I should say preeminent position of Vice Chancellor of Panjabi University, Patiala. A graceful lady who had a ready smile and born in the discipline of the army, a daughter to Colonel Sher Singh, and equally very easy in the humdrum of civil life. I have at that time and at that age, I had not known very eminent women occupying very eminent public places. She had, of course, every quality and every capability of doing because of her education. She had studied in the most eminent institution at Lahore. She was a teacher after having done MA Philosophy and MA Punjabi too, and MA Punjabi in Mahindra College, Patiala, which was one of the earliest institutions to come up in this part of the country. And in the first batch of MA Punjabi, a lady doing MA is very creditable, showed the initiative she had inherited from the army background, maybe. Being able to swim in the male world at that time was difficult. And she made it look very easy the way she was relaxed. What positions she did not occupy. She was principal of a very eminent institution in the Maja, the Government College for Women. I am from Amritsar district, and I therefore know that that institution occupies a very, very eminent position in the society there. She was principal there, and later on, equally eminent place, she was principal in Government College for Women, where she introduced many extracurricular activities. Since I have been in a university myself, and actually the same university as Mrs. Inderjit Kaur was, I have seen that the culture of Punjab, the dance and song of Punjab have been popularized mostly by the universities because they gave it eminence. It was part of the curriculum also, and since she was Vice-Chancellor of Panjabi University, Patiala, probably the only university or maybe the second university named after a language in the world. And it was also destined by and blessed by Maharaja Yadwinder Singh, who was the president of the team which recommended setting up of the university in Patiala. So the charge of developing Punjabi culture was given to that university. And as part of that university, when she was principal of the Government College for Women, she had introduced all these activities like Gida and so on, and which that college became famous for till even I was the Vice-Chancellor there. Great contribution indeed. And as Vice-Chancellor, I think the only lady Vice-Chancellor in North India and probably one of the three Vice-Chancellors of an international conference outside in New Zealand when she went to attend there. The Commonwealth Universities Association meetings. She went and did other international meetings too. I mean, all kudos to her. And now that she is retired. There is, I've not seen a single furrow come into her face. She is about the same as she was. That comes out of a life of equanimity, a life of balance, and I'm very happy that her son is doing the yeoman's work to bring out a book on her, written including 29 such writings by eminent people about his mother, Mrs. Inderjit Kaur, who at 98, bless her, can still sing very happily, Abhi to main jawan hoon.
That was Boparai Saab. And now I'd like to request Neelam Singh ji to kindly talk about my mother, who she is a very, very dear friend of.
Thank you very much. I feel extremely privileged to be part of this event. How do I position Auntie in my life? She's not only a very dear friend, but she's also a mentor, she's also a surrogate mother, she's also a confidant. I find it incredible that I can share some very private and very serious conversations with her and know that she comprehends something which I perhaps cannot do with my own, colleagues. There is something about her which is so curious, so open, and so receptive that it's a pleasure to spend time with her. And what is interesting is that when I'm with her, the so-called age stratifications completely dissolve, and I seem to speak to her or share with her on a one-to-one basis. I met Auntie G, as I call her, in 1975 when I just graduated from the National School of Drama. She'd come to visit my parents in Amritsar, and when she heard I was from a drama department, she said, "Why don't you set up something in the Panjabi University, Patiala?" I was completely overwhelmed to make an offer to somebody who was unproven, unknown, inexperienced. Such an incredible position showed her capacity to do something bold and unusual. Of course, I do regret that I never took up her offer, but nevertheless, that memory is very sharp and very strong within me. I value her friendship greatly, and I think what Roopinder, her son, has done is an incredible tribute from a son to his mother. This book is lovely. I've had a glimpse of it. It has some wonderful archival photographs, some excellent articles that give us an insight into this very multi-layered personality, which is Auntie Inderjit Kaur. Thank you very much, Roopinder.
Thank you, Neelam ji. And now I think we go back to another person who goes back to our childhood, Nikky Guninder Kaur, Professor Harban Singh's daughter. She recorded this message and sent it to us.
In patriarchal societies, women are pretty much invisible. And as the saying goes, you can't be what you can't see. I was lucky as a kid growing up in Patiala to see my endearing intellectual auntie Inderjit Kaur Sandhu. I saw her as the principal of Women's College in Patiala. I later saw her as the Vice-Chancellor of the Panjabi University, Patiala. Here is a lovely, lovely personality. And at the helm, the president of a college, president of a university, doing amazing, amazing accomplishments. She played such an important role for the promotion of Punjabi culture, language, art, society, politics, but most of all, to be a role model for a youngster like me. There she was, and always with a perpetual smile. She is a phenomenal person, and as I see her photographs today, I wish I were there celebrating with everybody on this very momentous occasion of her 98th birthday. I'm far away, but I'm so grateful to Roop for creating that precious volume which takes us down the waters of memory and evokes such joyous moments of his own birthday parties and of us being together with our parents, sharing, celebrating, and even when Auntie and Gyaniji visited my brother in New Hampshire. So this is a very precious volume. Thank you, Roop. And I am with you all in spirit, celebrating with my lovely Auntie Ji. All my love, best wishes, and we shall celebrate. I hope I am with you in person at your next birthday. All my love, best wishes. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Nitya to talk about my mother.
My dainty and resolute auntie, my cerebral yet serene auntie, I have been privileged to see you grace so many roles of a professional, of an administrator, of a parent, of a hostess, and more recently, I have been privileged to see you in contemplation of the infinite. You told me that many times during the day, you meditate on the singularity and the simplicity of the Almighty. Auntie, I am going to now recite an Urdu couplet. जुस्तजू हो तो कहाँ सफर खत्म होता है, जुस्तजू हो तो कहाँ सफर खत्म होता है, क्यों तो मंजिल का, यूं तो हर मोड़ पे मंजिल का गुमा होता है. I think I can hear you say in your inimitable way, Are Wah, although it was not deserving of Are Wah. Auntie, 98 is a mere dot in the roll of eternity. But today, on your 98th birthday, my Sat Sri Akal, my pranams, and my namaskarams. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Madhu to join us and talk to us.
Sat Sri Akal, Auntie, Namaskar from all the way from Delhi again. Actually, to follow Nitya is a hard act. She's so eloquent and she said all that maybe was in my heart to say, but just to say felicitations on this 98th and the release of the book volume, for which I know personally that Rupi has worked very, very hard all these years. And we have been on this journey with him. But for me, the memory of Chandigarh is the Sector 4 house and the Gyaniji and you together, Gyani Gurjit Singh and you together, bless his soul. And the many, many mornings and dinners shared on our way to the hills and back, because that was when mostly we met you. And it's been like that all these years. I'm hoping it'll be like that in the next few years too. And it was mornings and evenings filled with conversations from all walks of life about everything, not just about, say, basic philosophy, politics, or the arts, but anything under the sun. That is the beauty of being with you. And the tea and the evening ceremonies were always beautifully laid out. So, and it's been a pleasure even in recent years, just coming by and sitting with you and feeling what Nitya called that small moments of serenity, the quiet, the solicitude, absolute solitude, and the peace that you've surrounded yourself with. Just quietly reading and meditating and sharing conversations with people like us who passed you by, sharing bits about other people who had passed you by, and of course, spending time with Rupi and Jaspreet. and wondering what really made it. But the other memory that stays with me is the minor nok jhok between you and Gyani Gurdeep Singh ji over. I can't relate specific anecdotes, but I think what has come to me is basically this, that because I'm a Tamilian born and brought up in Shimla, my Punjabi was rustic when I left Shimla in the 70s, but it picked up again because of the association with Rupi and your family, and mainly because of the nok jhok between you and Papa. So for instance, Papa would always say, "Bhai Madhu aaya Dilliyon, bhai makhan khilao." I know Delhi wala varga, he had this grouse that in his 2 years in Delhi, when you were at the Selection Commission, he had to put up with Delhi-like breakfasts where the makhan wasn't laid out in good lathering, in good Punjabi hospitality way. When makhan comes, Delhi. That is one of the most enduring, joyous memories that stays with me of Papa and you, and the nok jhok, and the very gentle way he would read the Punjabi papers and then ask me what's going on in this world, and then ask you what's going on in this world, and the times we spent together. Here's wishing you a lovely, lovely 98th and a lovely book release function, and compliments to Rupi for bringing out a lovely volume. I've just managed to leaf through most of the pages from this afternoon. Rupi, lovely function, Rupi, barring the initial glitches. Let's leave them behind. It's been wonderful hearing from everybody from India and abroad on Inderjit Kaur Sandhu and on Gyani Gurdeep Singh. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to request Ranjit Pawar, daughter of an old associate and herself an old associate of my parents. Ranjit has been there ever since one remembers. Very much a part of the family, and yet far enough to actually see us for what we are. Ranjit ji.
I start with a salute to a beautiful and gracious lady and a hugely inspiring influence in my life, Bibi Inderjit Kaur Sandhu. It was a bonus for me to get to know her in my childhood, which are the days when you start looking for idols to pick up values of how to live and how to shape your life. I had the good opportunities, and I was lucky enough to get to talk to her very often as an aunt, besides an educator, besides an academic. And I saw both sides of her personality, the personal, the intellectual, and the professional. And it was always amazing to hear her experiences, to hear the stories about the journey of her life, which I could never get enough of. And I saw that she was one woman who has traveled across chapters of history as India evolved after partition and as the women of India came into their own. That was one particular aspect which really inspired me. With how she was ahead of her times, always looking forward and at the same time carrying culture and heritage with her, never letting go of the core values of who we are, of our identity, and yet helping and leading women to step into the next age, into the new age. And I admit that many things that I later found important in my life and I worked for them, and the ideas that I followed and they took root in my mind, they came from Auntie. So I am very, very, I think, lucky to have had her as one of the idols and the ideals who helped my own personal journey in my life, as I'm sure she did for very, very many other women and her students. So I wish the best of health and happiness for Auntie, and I am thankful that she's there with us as a beacon. Thank you.
On behalf of my mother, Sardarni Inderjit Kaur, and our family, I am really grateful to all of you for sparing the time and joining us. And I am just so overwhelmed with the way in which everybody has joined in and spoken about Mama. Thank you very much for joining us and being with us and being there for us. Thank you.